morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and today's shout out goes to Wen Win. Wen was first to say first in one of my recent videos, and thus wins this shout out. So congratulations. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here with a review of the new US65 DE65 Deutschland, Germany 65 Pro version. Okay, now last year I reviewed the original US65 from Banggood, and actually it was kind of a nice drone, fun to fly indoors or outdoors. However, it was only a 1S drone. Okay, it could only fly with 1S, meaning 1S power, 1S maneuverability. Great indoors, but outdoors a little bit sluggish, I'd have to admit, but it still could have been flown outdoors. I did fly it outdoors quite a bit. But since then, Ishin's gone back to the drawing board. Here, let me get this carrying case out of the way, but I want to compare the two. By the way, it comes with the US65 Pro, does come with, and the D65 Pro come with this nice carrying case, by the way. I wanted to show this before I moved it out of the way. But it carries all the equipment that you see here. It all fits in there, by the way. That's pretty cool. But what is new about this? Okay, first off, let's say this is another 65mm drone, just like the original US65. However, this one weighs 2 grams more, 24 grams versus 22 grams. Now, looking at the two, especially at the Canopy, you wouldn't think that. You'd think this would be probably heavier. But this one, the extra 2 grams is because of the motors. They're a little bit bigger motors than what came with the original US65. But I'll go into that here shortly. Other things about it, it has a 40-channel video transmitter, 25 milliwatt with Smartaudio. The original had a 48-channel video transmitter, but however, you know, those other 8 channels, I would rarely use those. But 40 channels is more than sufficient for most purposes, folks. You really don't need 48 channels. Also, this has internal FreeSky, FlySky, and also it's available with external FreeSky RXSR transmitter or receiver, or TBS Crossfire Nano receiver also can be available with this particular drone if you want to use an external receiver. However, I prefer to use the internal receivers because it makes it lighter, keeps it light, folks. So you want to consider that possibly. Now, again, the biggest difference between this and the original is this one is 2S capable. Okay, both 1S or 2S capable, meaning you can fly with 1 battery or 2 batteries, provided batteries, to give you that extra oomph and power, especially if you want to fly this outdoors and do stunts outdoors or fly very high speed. This one, you know, flew nicely but did not have very much speed. But with 2S, this one actually kicks some butt, I have to say, okay, for this little drone. Another big difference between the two is if you look at the canopy of the two, this canopy is quite a bit larger on the original. The one on the new Pro version is a smaller canopy with a large open area, both to reduce weight, I'm assuming, and also to provide increased ventilation to the video transmitter to keep it cool. So that's that. That's the frame itself, looking at the differences. Let's see. I mentioned it's 1 and 2S capable. Now there's something special about this 2S capable in that we have this new type of plug here. Okay, this is the receptacle plug. I hope that's coming in focus. And this is the battery plug for it. This is the new ET 2.0 plug from Ishin. Now, why do they have a new proprietary type plug? Well, if you look, the original US65, it had this PH 2.0 receptacle, which would go with the PH 2.0 plugs of the battery. Now, these little pins inside this receptacle, I don't know if this is focusing or not, are very tiny, very narrow. Now, why is that not necessarily good, actually bad? That creates a lot of resistance, folks. It cuts down on the amount of current that can actually go to the motors of the drone. The reason being, you know, the more narrow here, and a good analogy is thinking of a garden hose versus a fire hose, you know, greater diameter fire hose. More water can go through a larger diameter fire hose, but the same is true, similar, in regards to these pins, these receptacle pins. This can handle a lot more current than the original. And why would you want more current? Well, this original version was susceptible to sag, voltage sag. If you give it a lot of oomph, a lot of power, the voltage would drop down on this particular drone. You would notice it, and then you'd land or stop, and that voltage would come back up again, okay, or slow down. You'd see the voltage going up, going down. You had no idea what the actual voltage on your battery was. On top of that, when you'd be punching it and that voltage go down, you'd lose some of that power that's available from the battery. So with this new connector, the idea is hoping to eliminate that voltage sag. And indeed, I've been flying this around indoors in my basement here, and I have not been able to see any voltage sag since this update to this pin. Now, the downside to this pin is these are proprietary. You're going to have to buy them directly from Eachine. Okay, you're not going, as of this moment, I don't know where you get spare batteries for this other than Eachine. By the way, this comes with 4 batteries. I don't know where my other oh, there it is. I thought I lost it. But I don't know where to get other batteries other than Eachine for this with that this new type ET 2.0 plug. But again, the idea is to eliminate voltage sag. Now, additional things about this: the original drone, the US65 had a relatively not the greatest camera in the world. This was a 700 TV line camera in here. However, this new US65 has a CADDX ANT 1200 TV line camera. Very good camera inside here, providing good wide dynamic range. I'd be flying down in my basement, going in and out of the light, and it would keep it nice. The light was nice and balanced throughout that. And by the way, you're probably going to be noticing light going in and out here while I'm doing this tabletop, because we got clouds going over outdoors here, and it's changing the light in here occasionally. So if that's what's happening, folks, clouds going by outside. Other things about this now has a Crazybee F4 flight control board as compared to a Crazybee F3 flight control board, and it's loaded up with Betaflight 3.5.7. And the stock bids on this are relatively good. I've been flying it around my basement. They seem to be fine. Additionally, there's 5 amp continuous 6 amp burst ESC on board, which is very similar to what's on the original. I don't think that's been changed. However, we now have these new Brushless NX0802 14,000 kV motors. Now, the original had 19,000 kV motors, very much higher spin on this. However, this one, lower RPM but more power. Okay, I think the idea is they want to improve the efficiency of the flight, probably give you more flight time. However, I've been flying 1S again in my basement, and I'm seeing flight times around 2 minutes. The original here, I was seeing about 1 minute 45 seconds. So, there is a slight increase in efficiency in 1S than the original, but it's, don't expect to see like another minute, 2 minutes. However, when you're flying with 2 batteries, yeah, you might see a lot more minutes as compared to the original when you're flying 2S. Other things about this comes with a 6-port charger, and it includes both PH 2.0 pin or connector receptacle or the new ET 2.0 receptacle. Now, the thing about these ET 2.0, be very careful inserting these pins because you can bend them. This is not the easiest pin to get in or out of this. The same with this particular, with the drone itself. It's kind of difficult to get that pin in there or the plug in there. So be gentle doing that. You don't want to bend these pins, is what I'm trying to relay to you folks. But another difference between this and the original US65, the US65, you also got a similar charger to this. However, they did not provide you with the power supply. Now the power supply is included, which is great. I really never understood why they were bundling these without power supplies in the original, because you'd have to go out and buy a separate power supply separately for this, or charge it using an XT60 connector off of a large battery. Not everybody's going to want to do that. They're going to want to get themselves a power supply, and this does come with a power supply, so that's great. And finally, you get with this a nice instruction manual, and it does go into relatively good detail on the particular drone, along with a this is the controller menu board for the on-screen display. However, keep in mind this has smart audio capability, so you can adjust that on-screen display through Betaflight using your controller, your remote control. So I don't know about the utility of having this included, but it's there. And you get a spare set of props and a little adapter for when you want to use 2 batteries instead of 1. You get a screwdriver and prop remover and some spare screws in here. Now there's one thing missing, folks, and in mine at least, and that is a shorting pin to enable you to fly this in 1S. Mine do not come with a shorting pin. You know, normally when you see these type of bridle connectors and you want to fly 1S, you're supposed to plug a little shorting pin in there to short it out so that you can run the current would run through both of those connectors to give you the ability to fly with 1 battery. Since this did not come with a shorting pin in mine, and I don't know if others are experiencing the same thing, to fly 1S, what I had to do is I had to manually short that myself by putting a little piece of aluminum foil in there, which worked, but it's not ideal. So you should double check what you're shipping. Make sure you include shorting pins with yours. But I'm going to remove that for outdoor flying when we go outdoors to demonstrate this. So that is the new US65 Pro, and those are the big differences about it, particularly the ET 2.0 plug, the CADDX ANT FPV transmitter and camera, and the Brushless NX0802 14,000 kV motors, and the 6-port charger with power supply included, and the general look with this new canopy. So those are the big differences. So, well, let's take this drone out into the field or maybe into my basement, depending how I feel, and see how it flies. So I hope you enjoy this flight. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and how do you like my shirt today, folks? What I'm going to do first, well, first off, welcome to the Quadcopter 101 basement flight test facility. This is the first time I've had a basement, folks, since I've been living in California. They don't have basements in California, but they do back east. And that gives me an opportunity to fly in the winter. So those of you wondering how am I going to be flying in the winter, well, I got a basement now. Okay. What I want to do first, folks, you know, I mentioned voltage sag. The problem with the voltage sag on the original US65. And the problem is, again, this little 1S connector here, the pins on it are very, very narrow, so that when it gets a lot of current going through there, this actually tends to heat up, and it actually gets quite hot. And when that heats up, that increases the resistance, electrical resistance across these terminals here, causing a voltage drop from the battery to what the drone is seeing. Okay, so you'll see when we go flying, you're going to see as soon as I give this some thrust or get the motor spinning, you are going to see an immediate drop in voltage on the OSD screen, the on-screen display, and that drop in voltage is not real. Okay, it's the battery voltage is not dropping, but there is going to be a voltage drop going across there. So what the drone is seeing is going to be less than what's actually available inside that battery. And that is the, you know, the voltage sag. And when we land it and the current goes down, you're going to see that voltage go back up again. So that is a problem, you know. And why is that a problem? Because when you go flying, you're going to see your voltage down there at 2.9 volts, and you're saying, oh, I should land. And you're going to be landing early when you still have more voltage left in that battery, okay, because that 2.9 volts you're seeing is not correct because of that voltage drop across this terminal. Now, again, the new US65 Pro and DE65 Pro has this new connector with with a larger diameter pins in here. So there shouldn't be as much resistive heat loss across here as the voltage, as the drone draws current, and we should actually see quite a bit less, if any, voltage sag from this particular drone when I'm flying in 1S mode. We're going to be flying 1S mode in the basement today.
2S mode, I'll probably be doing a later date outside. So I can really punch this drone. But again, watch, when we go flying, watch the voltage reading on the screen, on the OSD screen, between these two. When I fly the US65 and then when I fly the US65 Pro. And watch that voltage sag. And I think you will see a difference, because I have, in practice flights I did recently with these. So let's go for a flight of this and see how these perform. Hold on, folks.
Okay, I hope you're hearing me, folks. I hope that my camera's picking up the sound. But this will be the first flight with the original US65. Again, watch that voltage down in the lower right corner. See that 4.1 volt? As soon as I arm this and start the motors, watch what happens to that voltage. Okay, and keep an eye on it. So here we go. And I'm going to be flying in stabilized mode throughout the basement here, because I'm not good at all at acro indoors. So here we go, folks. Arming the motors. Motors are armed. And let's take to the air. Watch that voltage. Look at that. 4.0 down to 3.2 instantly. Okay? Now that voltage, and let me get a feel for it. I'm going to start out slow here, because I'm looking at the voltage at the same time I'm flying, but I don't want to get too involved here. Now, let's see if I can go down. Forget it. I'll try it later. But again, see the voltage, 3.1 volts? That's not real. Okay, that is the voltage loss. I'm going to try to come down low again here. I got my hat camera there, and I'm afraid to hit it. But again, the voltage... Let me get out of here. There we go. Which way is that? Let's come the other way. I am not doing well at all indoors here, folks. But we're going to fly it until the battery's depleted. I have to apologize, folks. Again, we just moved in recently, and we are still not unpacked yet. Let's see if I get a little more confidence here. I'm not going to go under there. I was able to go under there earlier, but not under that overpass, because I have cameras there, and it's in the way for my descent. So we're just going to go around and around just to show the voltage. Voltage loss, staying up high. How do you like my hot tub there? we haven't used that yet. That came with the house for some reason. The previous owner had that hot tub. I'm not sure I want it. It's because it's a pain in the butt to take care of, I understand. So again, look at the voltage, say 2.9 volts, and I'm continuing flying. It's saying land now, but that is not real. Okay, now it's saying 2.8. Now I'm going to start considering coming in, because this probably is real. So I'm going to land it right about now. Take a look and watch the voltage go up again. 3.6 volts. So that voltage drop, voltage sag is pretty significant. Now I'm going to let it cool down just a second. And I'm going to spin it up again. And go around one more time and see if we got more flight time out of this. Coming around. See? We do got more flight time. It's 2.8 volts now, but that's, again, not real. Let's bring it in again, and I'm going to land it here beside me. And disarming. So, and then I'm going to put it back up again, and we're going to see, where's that camera? Beside me here. And let's arm it one more time and see what the voltage is now. 3.6 volts. So again, that is the voltage sag, folks. That creates a big problem, because you don't know what the real voltage is on the battery. And also, since this is acting like a fire plug or a restriction, that control plug restricting the amount of current that can go through there. So the amount of current that actually can go to the drone for flight purposes is reduced. So now let's try the US65 Pro and see if there's a difference. So hold on, folks, and I'll look it up. Okay, now let's try the US65 Pro. Notice we got 4.2 volts on the pad right now. Before we take off, I want to clarify one thing here. I've been using the term voltage sag. It's inappropriate. It's actually voltage drop, folks. It's because these drops are caused by resistance of that terminal that I mentioned. Also, I forgot to mention there is another voltage drop caused by the battery's internal resistance. Current is running through it. So the combination of both is what we're seeing there, 4.1 volts. Okay. Now I am going to arm the motors, and we should see another drop in voltage. And let's give it some power, and we see it drop it down to 3.9 volts. Now that's not as bad as what we were seeing before. Okay, with the US65, the original, right? We're seeing a lot less voltage drop with this particular drone, or with the 65 Pro, and that's because of that terminal, that terminal that we got there, that provides much better current, much lower resistance terminal that enables you to fly like this. So, again, you know, that is the main advantage of this US65 Pro. The secondary main advantage is it can use 2S battery, and that's what I want to try later. I'm not sure I'll be able to do it in this review, but I'll do a follow-on review here once I get nice weather. That's the reason I'm not flying outdoors, folks. You're right, folks. Coming here to Erie, the weather can be a little tricky. You got to wait for just the right day when there's no wind and the temperature is not too cold. But yeah, it's working fine. I'm going over the hot tub. Yeah, I got to fire up that hot tub one of these days since we got it. It comes with a house. Up above the hot tub and over me. Yeah, the 65 Pros, look how long it can fly with this battery here, okay? And we're not seeing that huge, I'm going to go over this time, huge drop that we would see with the US65, the original. Let's go over the other direction now, see if that messes me up. It will mess me up. By the way, in the back there, that door that you saw there, I actually got a hobby room that came with this place. Pretty fancy, in my opinion. This is a much better setup than I had in California, folks. That's why you never saw me flying indoors in California. It's just awful what I had. Got much better here in Pennsylvania than what I had back in California. Coming around, going this way now. So it's working great. Now, whoa, the voltage on this one, I am going to believe when it gets down low. In fact, I'm starting to need to give it more and more throttle at 3.2 volts, so I am going to think about landing it here right now, actually. Bring it over to me. So, and disarming. So let's turn this around while I'm wearing my goggles. Give my summation of the indoor flight. Yeah, this using the voltage sag or voltage drop is much less than what I was seeing with the US65. So this terminals, or this plug that's on this particular drone, is a big advantage as compared to US65. Now the next thing I need to do is I'll do on a follow-on review with this. We're going to take it outdoors, folks, and try the 2S. So stay tuned for that review. That'll come down maybe next week. I need a good day to fly first before I can do it. So hope you enjoyed these flights. This is Quadcopter 101 signing out. Hi, Quadcopter 101 here again. Hey, if you want to get your own shout out in one of my future videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's real simple. Just go to my channel page and click on that subscribe. And also make sure to click that bell button right next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified when I release a brand new video immediately and give you a chance to get that first shout out. So give it a try, folks.